Welcome to Breaking Ground, your window on agriculture in Newfoundland and Labrador. Our first segment is going to take us out to Paradise, where Vi and Aubrey Golding have a honeybee operation. They've taken the collection of honey and beeswax to another level. Not only do they have a normal arrangement of beehives, but they've gone one step further. Vi has developed a wide range of honey and beeswax products that are proven to have high healing properties. Next, we are going out to see the third biggest dairy farm in the country. Brent Chaffee is the owner-operator, and he is a person who is always pushing the envelope. He has explored the world of secondary processing with his good-natured yogurt and has more plans to expand. Not only does he have good farming instincts, but strong, solid business ones too. His interests have also taken him to developing new feed crops which require endless attention to his 2,500-acre farm. Uncle Sam's Butcher Shop in Happy Valley Goose Bay is very much a landmark. If you want any caribou-related products, such as caribou jerky, hors d'oeuvres, bologna, this is the place where you would go. But Randy Badcock has plans to expand beyond caribou production and look into other animal options. But the first step in that direction is the development of land. He's presently clearing new land in order to grow feed crops for his new enterprise. Monique Tobin is back with guest Dick Whitaker. Dick has been involved with many aspects of farming for most of his life. His experience has given him an interesting insight into the agriculture industry in this province. He will also explore some of the many potential areas for development in the industry. Sounds like a good show to me. Why not hang around? We'll be right back after these short messages. Welcome back. As promised, we're off to Paradise to visit Vi and Aubrey Golding and their honeybee operation.
Aubrey Golding has been a beekeeper for many years. It's a profession that is close to a calling. Today, beekeeper Aubrey Golding is getting ready to remove a box of beeswax and honey from one of his colonies. It is early September, and he expects to see a good buildup of product inside of the boxes. Let's have a look.
Now, shall we have a look at some of this honey here, see how it's turned out? Oh, it looks good. That's honey there that's sealed with wax. To me, that's what I call textbook honey.
Next, it's off to the honey house. Eventually, all the boxes and their frames are brought here for processing.
Okay, so my honey is brought in here, and I'll stack it up here in the corner. And I'll take my frames out, and I'll just lodge them in this rack right here. And what we have here, that's a layer of wax that has to come off. In order for the honey to come out, this wax has to come off. So I have what's called an electric plane, a heated plane. And that plane, just go across like so, and just take the wax off. And the wax will fall down into this tray that I have here, and that tray is a bunch of holes in it, a grid I guess you might call it, and that will allow the rest of the honey to drip through, and I can save my wax. I'll just take this one out. And this beeswax has been used for years. You go way back to Cleopatra's time. And this was treated as gold for cosmetics. And the royalty and the queens and the upper class, upper echelon back then would really treasure beeswax for making all these beautiful beauty creams and cosmetics. This tank here will take 12 of these shallow frames. And when that's filled, this tank works on centrifugal force. It's got a variable speed control on it. It spins around. The honey comes out on the sides, falls down here, and in this spigot. So open that spigot, and the honey just flows out through, down into my double sieve, down into the bucket. Okay, so once that bucket is filled, I'll take my bucket over. There's a nylon screening cloth that goes over this screen here. and I'll put into this honey container. It's a bottling tank and a settling tank all in one. It's a double wall jacket. It takes about 4 or 5 gallons of water to fill this up. There's a heater here. The heater heats up the water around this and allows me to control the temperature of the honey. So when I'm bottling honey, I try to bring it up around the high 30s to make it easy to flow, but yet not hot enough to do any damage to the honey. And to pasteurize honey, it should be up around 65, 70 degrees for a number of minutes. So we don't pasteurize our honey, but we do like to have it up around mid-30s to high 30s to make it flow nice and easy. Okay, so this is the wax so far from the harvest. I guess it's about, maybe 15 pounds or so of wax there. That's already been fed back to the bees, and you see the bees make it nice and dry for me. And then I'll put this wax through my wax melter, strain it out and filter it, and bring it into Vi. And then Vi will, and our sister, will make the body care products.
In many respects, primary production is just that, the first step to other byproducts. Honey is no exception. Once Aubrey is finished with producing the basic honey and beeswax, his partner Vi takes over.
And we use the honey in body creams, and all of our body creams we use our beeswax, so it's beeswax based. We started with hand, lip and foot cream, and then we went on into something for the baby, fisherman, gardener, and pets, and also a facial and night cream as well.
But developing and fabricating these products goes well beyond the business aspects of it all. Vi tells us one of many stories that gives her great satisfaction when it comes to the benefits of honey and beeswax.
We've got a lot of feedback. In fact, I just got an email yesterday from a lady in Grand Bank whose 10-year-old son has cystic fibrosis. And apparently with that disease, he would sweat a lot. The salt would rub the skin. Actually, the skin would peel off his feet, she was explaining to me. And, she's had him at the Janeway and had, creams, whatever for him. But she said, this stuff is just wonderful. And she uses it all the time on his feet, and she's even brought it to the hospital and showed them what they were amazed at what it's doing for him. And we've had a lot of good, successful stories like that.
And just in case you didn't know it.
Okay, well, we have the best honey in the world. Newfoundland has the best honey in the world, along with Hawaii and Australia, because we don't have what's called this tracheal mite that kills the honeybee. So therefore, we don't have to put poison strips of anything in our hive. So our honey then is drug-free. You can't get better than that.
I'm glad to hear that the Newfoundland honeybee operation is chemical-free. When we come back, we're off to the west coast of the province to visit the third largest dairy farm in the country. The dairy industry in this province is growing by leaps and bounds. Here's one of the leading players.
Brent Chaffee is both proud and glad to be a part of the dairy industry in this province. It is an industry that is experiencing significant annual growth, and Brent is at the forefront in herd size, innovation, and crop development. With 2,300 head of cattle and 2,500 acres of developed land, his operation is the third biggest in the country. With the constant hum of machinery in the background, he explains why this has happened in Newfoundland.
I guess in Newfoundland, we have to be as efficient of operator as we can be. We're keenly interested in our industry. The Newfoundland dairy producer, I think, is probably one of the most progressive in the country. I mean, we're always looking for new and innovative ways to improve, our trade and our profession. And we want to try new things. We want to excel at what we do. So we put a lot of work into it, and the farmers in this province in particular are industry leaders by all means.
But like all industries, there are challenges, and these challenges can be a barrier or an opportunity.
I mean, the farmers in this province right now are struggling with the chore of finding a way to market what we call industrial milk, which is the milk that's used for all products that are not table milk. You know, we have the ability to grow our farms as an opportunity that doesn't exist anywhere else in this country. The challenge is to get our cost of production to as low as we can to be able to produce this milk, to get it in those products, because our population is such that those products will very likely have to be exported. And so the challenge for the dairy producer is to attract processors to manufacture other products to use up all the surplus production. The other side of the coin is, of course, we have to manage our own farms to be able to make this production. And there's no question that the dairy farmers in this province are up to that task. We've seen phenomenal growth. We've seen phenomenal investment in dairy farms across this province. We've seen a rejuvenated interest in our industry from young to old. We're seeing technology, new technologies utilized every year that weren't used the previous year. I would have to say that our industry is pretty healthy at this time, and the managers of these farms are as capable as any in the country. For me personally, I grew up in a home where I was exposed to business at a very early age, from my parents to my grandparents, and they, I guess, dragged me around wherever they went, and I had the opportunity to meet a lot of you know, great people. And you know, you hear about, well, all the things that Newfoundland has done, and why hadn't it taken all those things to the next level? And it's a shame that we didn't do this, and it's a shame that we didn't do that. Well, I guess it kind of stuck to me a little bit, and I developed an interest in it and wanted to do something with it, so we did.
That other level that Brent is talking about is his development of a yogurt product, development of new feed crops, development of a trucking operation, and the development of a farm equipment enterprise. Yogurt.
You know, we had to develop our recipes. What exactly do we want to produce as a yogurt product? I mean, those who are familiar with the Good Natured brand would recognize it as being something slightly different than what currently exists in the marketplace today. It's a premium product. The packaging is unique and it stands out on its own. We want to do something that could add value to what our primary business.
Growing corn.
We had an actual need for the nutrients. I mean, you know, corn is very high in energy, and you know, the yield, for instance, of corn is 15 to 20 ton per acre. A yield of grass would be 5 to 6 ton per acre. So, you know, you can take an acre of land and you can get 2 to 3 times the volume off it compared to a conventional crop we would grow. So, as a growing operation, to be able to, you know, increase the total feed tons available to us is certainly an attractive factor. If you tie that to someone telling you can't do something, it makes it that much easier to give it a shot.
Trucking.
About 13 years ago, wanting to have, you know, control over the raw materials and the movement of those raw materials, we started a trucking company, specialized services, and we offered those services to companies other than our own, and they were taken up. So that little business has turned into, you know, a much larger business today, and we have operations all over Atlantic Canada.
Farm equipment.
About 2.5 years ago, recognizing that equipment used in agriculture is becoming far more sophisticated than you know, previous years, and not really having anyone in the province that was committed to servicing and managing that type of equipment. We decided to seek out a brand which we secured representation for in Newfoundland, and we established a dealership in Corner Brook, and just recently, this past winter, in February, we established a branch in St. John's.
Well, you can safely say that not too much grass grows under Brent Chappie's feet. Not much corn or alfalfa either. But on a broader scale, he represents a changing attitude in agriculture in this province.
But I think you're seeing a heightened level of that anyway in Newfoundland. I think that the awareness is there that didn't used to be there. And I'd expect to see more of it, not just in dairy, but in all facets of industry and in agriculture in particular.
Another great agricultural story. Now we're off to Labrador to see how caribou has been the foundation of expanding opportunities.
Most people who come to Labrador come with the intentions of staying for a short while, earning some quick good money, and then heading back home. 60 years ago, Ed Betcock came to Labrador with the same mindset.
I came down here in 1947. I came down to get enough money to go back and finish up my grade 11. I come with the Air Force, American Air Force. I was working in the time office.
There wasn't a lot to do in your spare time, so Ed decided to start a piggery and a butcher shop. Because of imported pork, the piggery had its ups and downs, but the butcher shop survived. Ed's son Randy decided to get a commercial license for hunting caribou and use the butcher shop to cut and package the meat. He describes how he got into it all.
But I enjoy hunting and all like that, and I have come from a big family and all like that, so it was a thing that in the fall or in the winter you make a trip to go get your deer and that. And I had a friend of mine said to me, would you like to go up? And that was about 25 years ago, and when I got the taste of it, out hunting and in the outdoors and the skidooing and that, ever since that, now I kind of just to go to kill the animals and to just cut them up in steaks or roast. So I thought I'd try to do expand down a little bit more, and when a couple people tried it and liked some of the products I was making, then I thought, well, geez, I could probably open a business with it, And I've been 15 years now doing processing with it.
Some of the secondary processing products include jerky, burgers, bacon wraps, bologna, pepperoni, and hot rods. Nowadays, Randy is thinking beyond caribou and looking into rearing other animals domestically. But to do that, you have to concern yourself with how to feed them. Randy has decided to clear land and grow his own feed crops.
Involved with the association here in Labrador for not just vegetables. I'm clearing land now, hopefully with potentials of continue on with animals. Right, I will have a small garden to have a little farmer's market here, whatever. But my main concern is because I have a secondary processing that I'd like to add some more animals to the menu for my clients and that, right? And I think it's a great potential now that we've got this new land to work with. Thanks to this new tractor we have donated from the government, right, to use for clearing our land. That years ago you would never think it all had to be done by a truck or chainsaw or pick or whatever, right? And it kind of encouraged a lot of young people to go into it. Now, after they're seeing what I've done and my neighbours have done, we hope it'll encourage more young people to probably come forward with it, and get into the farming bit.
So with the breaking of new ground near Happy Valley Goose Bay, the potential for more fresh local produce has expanded dramatically.
Labrador is still the land of opportunity. When we come back, Monique Tobin will be speaking with Dick Whitaker. Now here's Breaking Ground reporter Monique Tobin speaking with farmer Dick Whitaker.
Richard, you see that there's a substantial opportunity to develop a grazing herd in rural Newfoundland and Labrador. Would you explain that to me?
Yeah, well, we import 95% plus of the red meat into this province, and that amounts to close to $170 million a year. Now, some of that's hogs, and it's difficult to do that, but you can produce sheep and cattle without having to import a lot of grain and so on. So, and we can produce grass here quite readily. New equipment around enables you to preserve it even if the weather isn't that good. So that I see as our real potential opportunity. There's a big gap there. I mean, we're looking at, say, $120 million worth of beef brought in, and something like $3.5 million worth of sheep. And I might add that there's a shortfall of sheep production in Canada as a whole. We import several $1 million worth into the country, so if we got big enough, we could actually export at least live animals for slaughter elsewhere.
So the prime opportunity is to serve a local market that I guess wants to eat local meat and for reasons of health, but also for reasons of cost. You see that that's the advantage that farmers should really move on.
Yeah, I think it's potentially there, especially with all the costs of transportation rising, not the simple cost of gasoline, but also, or diesel, but also the carbon dioxide problem that we've got, worldwide. And I think that we're going to see more and more that there's going to be pressure to reduce the transportation level, so that should help as well.
Richard, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, Dick Whittaker has certainly given us a lot to think about. Next week, we're back in Labrador with a story about dreams and determination. Frank and Joyce Pye had a farm near Happy Valley Goose Bay for over 20 years. Then they received the terrible news that the property adjacent to theirs was contaminated. Well, it spelled doomed for their operation, but with help from the government, new land was made available and a tractor was provided for those who wanted to break new ground. Well, they jumped in, and the results were very surprising. We all know that this province is very unique. In terms of animals, we have the Newfoundland dog, the Labrador Retriever, and the Newfoundland pony. Well, you can add 3 species of sheep to that list, and Munyon Reid of Chapel's Arm is very much devoted to their preservation. And if you think this is just a story about preservation, forget it. There's money to be made at raising and selling Newfoundland sheep in this province. Next week, Monique Tobin will speak to the Minister of Natural Resources, Kathy Dunderdale. Her large portfolio includes oil and gas, but she believes that agriculture is no less important. She strongly feels that agriculture can play an important role in the rebuilding of certain places in rural Newfoundland, and she wants to remind farmers out there that there are government programs available to help that process. I'm glad you were able to join us. I'm your host, Roger Monder, and we'll see you next week.